So on the last video, I said that we needed to get a couple pieces of editing software installed, but what I forgot to mention was that we actually have a few other things that we need to take care of first. For example, right here I have media sound pulled up. Think one of the things, yes, Audacity right here is one of the things I'm going to be installing. However, at this point, I don't have any volume control apps installed. So that's one thing I'm going to need to take care of, and one thing I will take care of. I forget if it was ALSA Tools or ALSA Utils, but I'm going to do both. ALSA Tools, ALSA Utils, and dash PVT, just to see what it pulls in. Okay, so ALSA Tools and ALSA Utils both come in. I think ALSA Utils is the one we need, but we're going to do both anyways. No need to do a date and time on this one. It should be relatively quick. And just to give you an idea of what we actually need to do, we're going to go to the Gentoo wiki. And search for ALSA. This is one of the things where you actually need to have the things enabled within the kernel, and this is the reason why when installing the kernel I installed so many of the sound drivers that I felt like I needed. And this right here is actually important. You're not going to configure yours exactly like this. You're actually going to have to configure ALSA based on output from aplay-L. This will give you information on what your devices are. Once all of this is done, I am going to need to go over here, and then I'm going to need to go to /etc. Now you'll notice over here, specifically, oh, where was it? Ah, here it is. This right here is the global system-wide configuration file, asound.conf. That creates the file. aplay-L. Once this thing is done, we can run that command, and it should give us this output right here, or to be more precise, something similar to that output. Give this thing a few minutes, and once it is done, actually we might already be able to run this, depending on if it was ALSA Tools or ALSA Utils. Nope, that's on ALSA Utils, so we have to wait. And fortunately, our waiting will only be a couple more seconds now. Now it does mention RC update add ALSA sound boot. This is actually one thing we're going to need to enable as soon as we get the configuration file set up. We're going to need to ensure that ALSA sound is running, and we're going to need to make sure that ALSA sound gets started on the default run level, not the boot run level, just the default run level. aplay-L. We have a few cards listed here. This one right here. This is the one we're actually going to need because it's hooked up to the HD60, which is my HDMI interface. All of these say HDMI, however, it's only this top one that's the HDMI interface. The others, I believe, are DisplayPort interfaces. Let's go back over to here, and this thing is listed like so. Since we know that, let's go back over to here, nano/etsy/asound.conf, and we're going to configure this using this information here. And for me, this is going to require a little bit of guesswork. We're going to start with this right here. Paste it anyways. Potentially dangerous. Yes, I know. Except it's not dangerous. And let's go back over to here. Looks like HDMI, card HDMI. So we should program card as HDMI and device as 0. Card HDMI, device as 0, it's already set up as 0, card HDMI. And I think that should work. Let's go ahead and /etc/init.d/alsa sound start. No mixer config, you have to unmute your card. ALSA mixer. Okay, so that's unmuted. And we need a test sound. Do we have a... This right here looks good. Escape out of that. Playback device's default stream parameters are 48K, S16LE, 2 channels, also lib. Playback open error -2, no such file or directory. Okay. Saying sound PCM demix open, unable to open slave. So we're going to go into here. This is most likely going to require a little bit more work on my side. I was planning on installing Audacity and GIMP, but this is taking priority for me at this time. So sys class sound card ID cat /sys class HDMI. spdiff or HDMI.asoundrc. aplay /list -devices. Well, that makes things easy now, doesn't it? Nano asound.conf. Okay, default PCM card will be 1. Default PCM device will be 3. And control card will also be 1. And we use Control O to write out the file. We keep it open. We're just writing it out. As far as what to do now, restart. This causes it to stop the daemon, then start it back up again. Basically, the old did you try turning it off and turning it back on.
Front, left, front, right, front, left, front, right, front.
Seems to be working to me. That was actually pretty easy. I guess we can get on to installing Audacity and GIMP now. Audacity, GIMP, and we're going to see what it pulls in. It's probably going to pull in a lot. We might also need to enable some use flags. Mind you, enabling use flags globally can make things easier for you. However, there are certain cases where you really would not want to enable use flags on a global basis. Those are sort of edge cases. However, I prefer just not enabling anything on a global basis. So app text /poplar Cairo output to /etsy /portage/package.use /app-text. Then echo media-libs /gegl Cairo, and push that to /etsy /portage/package.use /media-libs. I'm using tab completion here because, honestly, I don't feel like typing out everything. It looks like it's installing FLAC, so that's good. 42 packages, total size of downloads 184 megabytes. GIMP has sound options. That's odd. Let me see. Oh, I do need to enable ALSA for Audacity. echo media dash sound slash Audacity, ALSA, and what else might I need to enable? Doc, FFmpeg, and ID3 tags sound good. We want to be able to edit ID3 tags on MP3s if that's what we have to do. Jack, MAD, OGG for sure. OSS, port MIDI, port SMF, SB, SMS, 2Lame, and Vamp. I'm not seeing any other MP3 support, so let's put in 2Lame as well. And push that out to /etc/portage/package.use/media-sound. Still don't understand why GIMP would need ALSA. I mean, it's an image editing program. It might need sound for something simple like playing warning tones or whatever, but do you need warning tones if you are watching something on screen? I don't think so. Echo, media, -libs, /port audio, ALSA, /etsy/portage/package.use/media-libs. Now let's see what it does. Okay, 44 packages. Looks like ALSA is supported by Audacity, so that's good. And it looks like everything else we need is installing, or will be installing rather. Much as I despise the WebP format, I should probably tell GIMP to support it. So that would be media-gfx. Echo media-gfx /GIMP webp /etsy/portage/package.use/media-gfx. We'll see what else it pulls in. There. Doesn't look like it pulled in anything new, so that's probably on a shared library. Let's go ahead and do the usual date, time, date. Started January 9th, 4:50 and 27 seconds p.m. Central Time. And I'm going to do the jump cut right now. Bring it back after it's finished. So you'll notice it's a couple days later. It says January 9th right there, and it says January 11th up in the upper right corner. Any case, it looks like the compile and install for these two programs, that would be GIMP and Audacity, took about an hour and 42 minutes and 40 seconds. I don't see much point in counting the seconds. Let's see how well GIMP went. It actually loaded faster than it normally would on Windows, I think. Anyways, there's GIMP. And, where's the other one? There it is. Audacity. And if you're unfamiliar with these programs, GIMP is used for editing photos, Audacity is used for editing audio. There's a couple other programs around here, like Kdenlive is one of the ones that many people, including myself, use for video editing. And it would appear that this thing requires a fair number of unusual changes. I'll have to look into that later. In any case, another program we need is probably going to be var db repos Gentoo, and we want media dash sound again. I have to see if, yes, XMMS2 still is on there. That's good. And make sure that mPlayer is also here. Yes, it is. XMMS2, which is an audio player, and mPlayer, which is both an audio and video player. XMMS2 is graphical, and mPlayer is pretty much universally launched from the console. It looks like there are a number of options that we can enable for both XMMS and mPlayer, so that's what we'll do. Media, video, mPlayer, and you just go about and pick which formats and features you want support for. I'll say Blu-ray. The system does have a Blu-ray drive after all. CDDB is used for looking up information on a CD. We'll put in CPU detection as well. I don't know specifically why you would want that, but it sounds like a good idea to me. DV, DVB, FAAC, FAAD, FTP, GGI, GSM, JACK, joystick, JPEG, for sure. libmpeg2. Live LZO, MAD, MD5, MD5 sum, excuse me, that continues over to the second line. MP3, NAS, OpenAL, OpenGL, OSS, PNG, PNM, Pulse Audio, PVR, Radio, RAR, RTC, RTMB, Samba, SDL, Speaks, sure why not, Theora 2, You don't see VCDs a lot, but I'm aware of the format at least. Forbis, X264, Xvid, and that looks like just about all we need for this particular one. /etc, /portage, /package.use, /media-video. Echo media dash audio, or sound, excuse me. XMMS2. We want it to have AAC compatibility. We want it to have compatibility with ALSA. AO CDDA for sure. Curl, CXX. FFmpeg, FLAC, MP3, Speaks, enabled it elsewhere, may as well do so here, WavePack, out to /etc /portage /package.use /media sound. And let's see just how much that increased our footprint. Start at 12 packages and now it's 22. So we've got 10 more packages to install. We'll go ahead and install these 2 packages and their dependencies. And of course, date, time, date. January 11th, 12:17 and 26 seconds p.m. And we'll have a time for just how long this took once it's done. And here we are after the jump cut. Looks like mPlayer and XMMS2 actually took a lot less time than I was expecting. do they actually show up on here? Not as far as I can see. That's okay. That's unusual. That's also unusual. Not certain what might be causing that. Oh well. In any case, MPlayer works. Even if I don't have anything to actually play with it, it does work. Just to recap, we got GIMP installed, we got Audacity installed, we got XMMS2 partially installed, I suppose, and we got MPlayer installed. MPlayer runs primarily from the command line, so not much graphical we can do on that. Okay, well, I guess that's the end of this segment. Pick up on the next one and figure out where we're going to go from here. Okay, I've decided what we're going to do in this particular segment is, I get package names mixed up now and then, but rarely do I get them this badly mixed up. First thing I'm going to do, Audacious. And no, I'm not going to do a PVT on it or anything like that. We're just going to emerge Audacious, and that's because lightweight and versatile audio player. What it's not telling you is that lightweight and versatile audio player also happens to look a heck of a lot like Winamp, at least according to what I've been reading. And actually, I do need to run PVT just to make sure that it's installing the right audio codecs and that everything works the way I'm expecting it to. I want it to at least be able to play FLAC files and stuff like that. Let's see, Audacious itself doesn't have any sort of format plugins, however Audacious Plugins does. Now, it's got the right sound backend, it's got ALSA, but we also want to echo media -plugins / audacious plugins. AAC, we want to add CDDA. We want to add Q, just FFmpeg should be useful, as should FLAC. We'll add HTTP just for the sake of completion. It might actually be able to download, let's say, MP3 files off of a website, assuming that's even a thing. Add lame in here, MP3. We definitely want OpenGL. We want Vorbis and Wavepack. And also looks like I've fat fingered an S. /etc/ /portage /package.use /media -plugins. Now let's see how much it pulls in. 16 now. That'll be fine. So we'll let this go about its thing, while I talk about what I intend to do with the rest of this particular video. What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over var /db /repos /gentoo /games -emulation. And the one which I'm going to be going over is SNES 9X. That's the one I'm going to be going over today because I happen to have a little piece of equipment, and I don't think this is made anymore. This right here. And you can see right here it goes for a fair amount of money. Actually, it goes for a lot of money. This thing is essentially a ROM dumper. I've also got a copy of Chrono Trigger for Super Nintendo. While I'm doing any of these videos with emulation involved, I will be, to the best of my ability, showing how to do things in the legal way. In the case of Super Nintendo emulation, you need a ROM dumper such as this Retro 2. And how exactly does this work? Previously, I had a /dev/SDA, B, and C. I now have an SDD. Make directory /mnt/roms. Mount /dev/sdd/mnt/roms. This may take a minute. Now we do ls/mnt/roms. And you'll see we've got a retroed config file, we've got Chrono Trigger, and a save RAM for Chrono Trigger. We're going to go ahead and copy those to the present directory, so cp/mnt/roms/c*. It'll take a minute to copy because, well, it's a ROM dumper. These ROMs are not exactly as fast as you would expect from a USB 3 flash drive or anything of that sort, really. And even if they were as fast as a USB 3 flash drive, this is only a USB 2 device. And you'll notice that the permissions are set to root. We need to fix that by doing a chown. sdcondon :sdcondon ch*. And you'll notice the save RAM is 8 kilobytes, whereas the ROM itself, the SFC file, is about 4 megabytes. It's probably exactly 4 megabytes. So 1024 times 4096, exactly 4 megabytes. So we've got the ROM itself, and we've got the save RAM for the ROM. You don't actually need to copy over the save RAM, but if you want to save your old save files from a game that you used to play a long time ago, and you think the battery on the cartridge might be near death, well, that's how you fix that little situation. Now, that's how you copy over a Super Nintendo game using the Retroad. And it looks like the Retroad also supports Sega Genesis /Mega Drive, depending on where you actually are located. What I'm trying to do now, I'm looking through a massive optical disc collection, trying to find my PlayStation 2 discs, because there is a very important difference between PS2 and PS1 disc copying. First things first, this is a PlayStation 2 disc. Eject /dev/sr0. That's so I know which one I'm messing with. And once you have the PlayStation 2 disc loaded into the drive, you can do a very simple /dev/sr0 of equals ./persona 3 fes.iso. And of course, since it's a DVD, an optical media, and it's several gigabytes in size, it's going to take a while for it to copy. The one thing I should point out is that due to the copy protection on the original PlayStation, or at least I think it's due to the copy protection on the original PlayStation, you cannot copy original PlayStation games in the same manner. Once this disc is done ripping, and once this thing is complete, I'll be doing a jump cut back and installing the emulators and the software we will need to rip a PS1 disk. So here's the jump cut. Well, the install for Audacious took a little bit longer than I was expecting. Also did a little bit of research. Looks like XMMS2 is the successor to XMMS, which did actually have a graphical interface. And Audacious is pretty much the successor to that, I suppose. So that pulls up real nice. Let's install one other thing. CDR-DAO. This is what we need to rip PS1 discs. Grab my authentic copy of Japanese Final Fantasy IX. And just throw that in there. Now, we use the DD method in order to extract the PS2 DVD. That was easy enough. If you try to do the same thing with a PlayStation disc, though, a PS1 disc, I should say. First off, we'll make sure that it's actually there. It is. Now, if you use DD to extract a PS1 disc, here's what happens. You get an input-output error, only a couple of records in. So we're going to remove the file, because obviously that file is not going to work at all. This is why we need CDR-DAO, because that is the only program which will be able to properly rip a PS1 disk. And the command to do so is, I actually have this written down because it's a long command, CDR-DAO read -cd --read -raw --data file ff9-1-jp.ben --device /dev/sr0 --driver generic-mmc-raw. And then you need to have it generate a table of contents file as well, so ff9-1-jp.toc. That's the command that we will need to run as soon as this thing completes. And that command will be able to properly rip the PlayStation 1 disc. What this does is it sets up this as the actual disk image, and this is the table of contents file. Obviously, if your CD, DVD, Blu-ray drive, whatever you have, is a different device, you would want to put in /dev/sr1, sr2, so on and so forth. Likewise, if you wish to name your files differently from how I am naming them, or for example, if you are ripping a different game and wish to give it an entirely different file, then you would name the talk file right here and the ben file right here differently. Going to pause recording and jump cut whenever this thing finishes. And CDR-DAO is just about, there it is. It's done. Now we can run this command right here to back up my copy of Japanese Final Fantasy IX. It gives you an approximate value of how far along it is on the CD using the number of seconds, which it would be if it was an audio CD. In this case, it appears to be reading at about 4 times speed, so it's probably going to take, I'd say, about 18, maybe 19 minutes. Once that's done, you'll have a perfectly duplicated PlayStation 1 disc, and you won't be able to run this disc on an unmodified PlayStation 1, specifically on account of the fact that an unmodified PlayStation 1 can't play burned discs. You can use a disc swapping method, or you can install a mod chip, or something like that, otherwise it will not play. I'm going to cut off the video right here, and we'll do a jump cut once this thing's done. Now it looks like the PS1 disc has completed ripping. Like I say, that took about 17, 18 minutes, something like that. Let's take another look at what emulators we have available. We have SNES 9X available, PCSX-R and PCSX-2. And that's what I would have expected. games emulation slash PCSX R tilde AMD 64 Etsy portage package accept keywords games dash emulation. And SNES 9X is limited by the AMD 64 keyword as well as a license. Let's go back over to here. SNES 9X, then echo SNES 9X. You have to make sure that the capitalization matches. If it does not, then it's just not going to take. Just like that. And you keep running it until all of the things that are masked are no longer masked. Calculating dependencies, done. And it looks like we have a fair number of use flags to enable across multiple different packages. That is in fact a large number of use flags to enable. And they're all the same use flag. Also syslibs zlib with, I guess that's the use flag minizip, has been masked. And this is actually how we go about figuring out what we need. We're going to copy all of this. Then we're going to nano slash etsy slash portage slash package dot use slash ABI x8632. And we're just going to paste all of that into here. So all of these will have the proper use flag, the ABI x8632 enabled, and it will of course ignore all of these commented lines. We shouldn't have this giant list at the end of everything. However, the fact that we're having everything done with ABI x8632 means that a lot of this stuff is going to have to be recompiled. And since it's all going to have to be recompiled, that 70 packages is likely to show up as more like, I don't know, 100? No, surprisingly still 70. Okay. We'll let these roll, and while that's going on, I will provide a necessary disclaimer. If you are going to be doing any sort of console emulation on your machine, please ensure, first off, that 1, you actually do own the hardware, and 2, that you actually own the software that you are going to run on the emulator. For example, this copy of Japanese Final Fantasy IX, I actually own this. Paid a good deal of money for it too. My copy of Chrono Trigger, likewise, I actually own that. Got it back in 1995 when it was released. I'm actually surprised that the battery on it still runs. And likewise with my copy of Persona 3, I do in fact legally own that game. I've also got a few copies of Persona 4 as well. One of them is still in box, sealed. All of this is likely to take a very long time. Additionally, I should note that with the PlayStation games, PlayStation and PS2 I should say, you will also need the BIOS from the system in question. I already have BIOSes dumped from the PlayStation and PS2, which I own, and I had these dumped, well, probably more than a decade ago in any case. But these are all my original files from the PlayStation and PlayStation 2, which I own. I don't have the hardware with which to dump them anymore. I actually had a friend help me with that. But if you are going to be doing any of this, do not download the games, don't pirate games, and definitely don't pirate these particular files. These will only get you in trouble. In any case, I suppose that's all I have to say for this particular segment. I'm going to do a jump cut now to the end of this thing.